Good afternoon, friends. Welcome to my channel. My name is Justin. I play guitar on songs in Nashville. Today I want to discuss a recent video where I played a melody over a chord progression and sparked an intense discussion on what key it's in. There's been a lot of great comments on this video, and I want to play through the same thing one more time. Actually, it's a little bit different. I changed a chord underneath. I'm going to play the exact same melody. It still works, but one of our chords is different. And if you're in the same camp I am and saying that this is in the key of A, then that's not really going to change for you. But I wonder what those of you who said that this is in D because the chords fit into the chords that are built in the key of D, what you would say. And then there were a lot of you who said, well, it's in A Mixolydian. And I've thought about this a lot over the past couple days, why I don't think that way. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of disagreement on this video too, but here's this same melody with a new chord. Tell me what you think this is in. So the only thing that changed from the other video is that we stuck a C note underneath the E minor. So instead of A, E minor, G, D, which I'm calling 1, 5 minor, flat 7, 4 in A, it's now a C major 7, G, D, which I'm calling 1, flat 3 major 7, flat 7, 4. Because that melody, it's so important. Like, I know how easy it is to look at a chord progression and say, yep, that's the key. But a chord progression isn't a song, all right? A melody is the song. The chord progression is how we support the song. And sometimes these things don't fit really neatly into a perfect key signature. And I also don't think that the point of calling the key is to put it into the basket that requires the least number of accidentals, right? The top comment on my video, a lot of you who are pushing back against how I talk about things were saying like, well, I don't care how Nashville does it, you know, I don't like the way Nashville people play, everybody's a copy of each other, and you have this little small group mentality or colloquialism in how you name things, but that doesn't make it right. Well, I guess what I was getting at with the everybody I know in town is just everybody I know who plays music. Like, people in and out of Nashville don't think in terms of modes, and they don't think in they would not call that in the key of D. Well, now that I added the new chord, what do you think? I would like to hear in the comments what you would say the key that this is in. I still say it's in A, you know, and when improvising, you've got you've got options. When I say A, I don't mean the A major scale. I don't mean that I'm going to play all the degrees of the A major scale, or that those particular notes are the ones that are available to me. I'm inside the chords. I'm thinking chords, period. I'm not thinking of what scale gives me all the options I want over a particular progression. And the reason I'm not doing that is because I just don't think that that goes far enough. Like, that's not going to get you to the place of creating interesting hooks. It's not going to get you to the place of supporting a melody in the best way that it can be supported. And a commenter on the other video made a really great point. I want to find it. I'm going to look through some of the comments here. Let me share my screen. Here we go. See if I can remember how to do this. Oh yeah. Okay, I'm just going to change the size and the shape here of this. If you're watching on your phone, it's probably going to be hard for you to read the comments anyway, but here we go. I pinned this comment. This is a New York session guy who made his living in the jingle scenes, played on tons of records, tons of live gigs, all this stuff. His name's Alan Schwartz. He says, I like that you're teaching real music to the peeps. The published music for that song would 100% be 3 sharps A with a natural sign on the G's. He says, here's one for you guys. Allman Brothers' Stormy Mondays in G, right? Bingo. Blues has a key with 3 dominant 7th chords. But it's 3 Mixolydians, or just play the blues. But then it jumps to G major. More choices, no? Oh, great video as always. I think that's a good point. You're not going to find a progression, a blues song that fits perfectly into one key. But when it's blues in G, if that's going to be notated out, they're going to call the key signature with 1 sharp, F sharp. But when they notate it out, you know, when you're playing, there's going to be a natural sign next to the F. They're not going to call the key signature C, because that informs people what the tonal center is, what the home base is, where the melody is coming from, where it's headed, right? And, you know, when they get to C7, well, now you've got to add a flat to all the B's on that chord. You get to D7, no accidentals required because the F sharp is called in the key signature, right? But you still call it a blues in G. You still say that it's in the key of G. What you don't do is switch Mixolydian modes for each chord, right? If you do, I would say that is holding you back. I would say that's holding you back from finding a cool melody that works through those changes, not just playing all the notes that are available. I want to find this other comment, so let's keep going here. I would be really interested in what Rick Beato says to this topic. Me too. A. Man, I love this stuff. Thanks so much for sharing. For many years, I had fun playing over a D, C, G, D loop. I always played D major and minor pentatonics over it. Only recently did I think about the chords diatonically, and I was like, wait, those chords are from G major. Yeah, but when you were playing in D over it, I would say it was in the key of D. Okay? This is the whole Sweet Home Alabama argument, right? I haven't played this since middle school. The melody is... That's in D, right? So what's interesting about that song is that there are phrases in the solo from a G blues scale which kind of makes it seem like it shifts, which is super cool. And even the guy who wrote it said, no, that's in the key of G. Well, I mean, your melody was in D. Okay, this is the argument of everybody in town, or everybody who plays music for a living. I would say that they're listening more to the melody, and they're going to say that and it's like it's not quite. It's kind of that blues thing where it's not. There's a bit of a like a pull to the second or to the flat third or whatever that doesn't really. You're not like going fully to the major third. That sounds a little happy, right? So, I mean, my personal opinion on Sweet Home Alabama has been that that's in the key of D. It's just that it feels like it switches. It switches a little bit in the solo. It feels like it switches to G for me, you know, because I'm listening to the melody. And again, my whole thing is songs, right? I'm very song focused. When I get called to play for somebody, my goal and my aim and my focus is, what is this song doing? What does it need? How can I help, right? And to me, it's less important to say, well, this chord progression is diatonic to this key. And it's more important to listen to the melody and say, what is the melody doing? What is the melody in? Where is it going? And with the song that I've been playing yesterday and today, that's in A. That melody is totally in A. The lower sixth, it's like taking an upper third harmony and putting it below, so it could just as well be. I really like putting the C under that E minor. Sorry, I got guitar face there for a minute and just kind of zoned out. I might cut that out of the video. I don't know what, I'll have to listen to it first. So this one guy, Zumo61, I'm 30 seconds in, key of D. I just had to laugh. I'm like, you just decided without hearing my argument at all. Okay. So I wrote back LOL, and then he writes back E minor. Okay. Oh, let's see. A couple more comments here. This guy says, okay, there's no Mixolydian in Nashville. I understand because you use the number system. That's fair. I'm not knocking on it. I'm trying to learn it too. This song would indeed sound different if you pretended it was in D. Well, you don't have to pretend it's in D. You can make it in D, right? Like you can play a melody over the original progression that's in D. And I gave an example of that in the last video. It's kind of in the middle of the video. Check it out. He says, but I think you would need to reorder the chords if you tried to force it into a D framework. Maybe 1, 5, 2 minor, 4 in D. The song is still in a Mixolydian. Don't be afraid of referring to it unless your Nashville buddies are going to blacklist you. So this is back to the modes thing. This was my response. I don't think anyone is afraid to refer to Mixolydian. Everyone I've worked with, in or out of Nashville, just doesn't think that way. It's similar for blues. No one I know approaches a standard G7, C7, D7, 12-bar blues as 3 different Mixolydian modes. It's just, what key are you in? And you're reading the chart, so you can see what colors are available to you in that key. I'm going to call this the key of A. That doesn't mean that an A major 7 works. That 7 doesn't work, right? The natural 7 is going to sound really out there because I have these other chords, right? If I'm playing a... Well, I guess I could. What if I did that? That kind of sounds a little disjointed to me, but it's kind of fun to play as a, I don't know, as kind of a, just to practice with, you know? I don't know. Where was I? Okay, jazz guy here, definitely A. Like I would say what I'm playing through right now is A, right? That doesn't mean that I'm going to use the A major scale. I can't use the A major scale the entire time. And that was kind of my point with changing the second chord of this progression. If I go from A major, C major 7, G, D, home bass is still A. I still have that. Do you hear how hard that pulls? That's the 4-chord, the most 4-chord sounding D chord I've ever heard, right? It does not sound like a 1. That's why I don't call it in D, because melodically it's not functioning in that way. This is a 4-chord. And that feels so at rest, right? Like, use your ears. Don't let the theory get in your way, okay? Because if you start thinking modes of D major, or if you start thinking A Mixolydian, the A being the 1 is so important to understanding the melody and to supporting the melody and to doing what you're hired to do in whatever musical context, you know, that you find yourself in, whether you're recording for somebody or you are playing in their band, or you got hired to play a cover gig, or whatever context you got hired to play in, right? It's so important, the melody. I mean, the harmony is important too. You don't want to hit any clunkers on either end, but if you are going to move toward making this a career, you've got to get so much more melody focused. And I think this is why I don't know how many decades ago, but back in like the 30s and 40s and 50s, right? Let's just refer to then. People were transcribing others' solos. They weren't. I don't think they were getting so bogged down with the theory and the math of it. Okay, and this is kind of personally. This is kind of my. I think this is a little bit of my distaste for thinking in terms of formulas. You know, it just reminds me of math. And having spent 7 years in college getting 2 math degrees, I laugh because it feels like a lifetime ago. It just kind of, I think that kind of pushed me away from really mathy sounding music. You know, when before it was like, I was all about it, all about all the substitutions, you know, like why does on a 2-5-1, why does the flat 7 major 7 sound so good? Instead of 2-5-1, it's 2 flat 7 major 7 to 1 major 7. Why does that work? That's cool. And then the minor third substitution. Like all the mathy things that, you know, I think a lot of jazz guys get excited about. And I played in jazz just long enough to to give up. I feel like if I had stuck with it, I would have figured out a way to really phrase things melodically and compellingly and interestingly enough to not hate myself while I was playing it. My big joke about jazz is that it's a group of musicians playing along to a song that no one else can hear. And you know, that's kind of a poke at jazz guys, but everybody I know would laugh at that. You've really got to pay attention to hear the melody in a lot of players playing, and sometimes you just can't. My favorite jazz musicians, it's the only thing they play. Like listen to a Bill Frisell record, and when he takes a solo, like you can tell through the entire thing that he's got the melody looping around in his head while he's playing. He's playing off of something that is there only by implication, you know, and it's super interesting. I've said it on this channel before, but I think my favorite recording of his is probably the live Shenandoah off the East West record. It is so good. It is just incredible. And then, man, the entire Blues Dream record is really awesome too. Really awesome. And he's got that thing where wherever he chooses to go, he's just always honoring the melody. All my favorite musicians, when they play over songs, when it's their turn to solo, they're not thinking, here comes the chords, I'm going to use this mode, and just now I know what's okay to play. They're getting inside the melody. And so I guess that's my complaint with modes, is that it doesn't take you far enough. And a lot of people I feel like they get stuck in this framework of, well, I need to know what notes are available. Well, I can use this color here, I can use this color here, and that's fine. But this guy on the I'm going to find this comment because he put it really well, and I'm blanking right now. Here's a good comment. There's a guy named Brian Kelly, and apparently he would make an hour-long video of why I'm wrong if he saw this video. That's funny. Okay, come on. Here it is. This guy sums up why I don't rely or think in terms of rely on or think in terms of modes. This is such a great subject matter for really simplifying how to improvise over progression. I went through a theory stage and even taught music a time or two. This is from Dennis M. Guitar 1552. Modes are good to know and understand, but as you stated, they don't inform the note choice for what sounds best. That's kind of all of it for me. It's interesting that when we harmonize the scale in a given key, the melody may inform the improvisation stronger than a predictable mode based upon the chords going by. There are times when a 5-7 doesn't fit over a 5 chord, as it predictably should in terms of the chords. Great video, more like this, sir. Note choices that please the ear are gold. And I responded to say, that's a good way to put it. Modes don't inform the note choices that make the most interesting melodies. I think too many people say, a Mixolydian. I can play any combination or permutation of these notes and it will sound right and good. And if you're one of the people who commented that it's a Mixolydian, I'm not saying that you say that directly. I do get that vibe from a lot of players. I also said it was very important for me to get away from that kind of thinking. That's it right there. Modes don't give you the best notes to play, right? They tell you what's okay, and when it just sounds like, you know, there's some sort of dancing around in this scale and the color of that scale is all that you hear, that's when I check out. I want to hear things that are inside of each chord, or tension over that chord that gets resolved later in the phrase somehow, you know? That's what's interesting to me. And so, with all that said, should we read a couple more comments? I don't know. This guy says, nope, D major. And I pushed back a little bit. It's like, man, you got to get past that, you know, like one semester's worth of music theory that I feel like every guitar player has, right? He says, you're right, never waste time revisiting my musical education, and yes, melody is king, but it's not because the melody gravitates to a tonal center that this only determines the key of the song. This piece of music is in D major. You did not convince me otherwise. He says, great playing and content on your channel, wishing you all the best. I appreciate that. That's great. Disagree all you want. My pushing back on that is, without a melody, you don't even have a song. A chord progression is not a song. It's just merely a way to support a melody. The simple melody in this song starts and resolves to A. That is more important than the colors underneath it. You could change, and this is what I did in this video, you could change the second chord to C major 7, from E minor to C major 7, without changing the melody at all, right? The melody was... That's what it was originally, but we changed it. It would be crazy to me to then call this a 5, flat 7, major 7, 4, 1, when even, like, that's a 4 chord. To my ear, that is the strongest a 4 chord has ever 4 chorded. Back to the 1, right? It would be crazy to call that progression in D rather than a 1, 1, flat 3 major 7, flat 7, 4 in A. I mentioned it even resolves to the A like a sus chord almost. Just stuff to think about. Thanks for the dialogue. His name is Geert de Meyer 1206. Being laser focused on the melody, transcribing other solos, learning melodies from songs. Learn every melody from an old Beatles tune. All the Beatles tunes. That will do more for you than practicing like very guitar-centric stuff. You know, I think there's just some brilliant stuff there. So there's brilliant stuff everywhere, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one. Bye.